Welcome, everybody. I'm joined by Cam, and Cam is going to help me solve a problem. In a previous video, I made a commitment to grading a card, and I actually realized I don't know how to grade a card. So we're both here with, he's got a whiskey, I've got a beer, and he's going to try to walk me through how do I get these cards graded. I said I would do this. I haven't done it yet. Little confession here. But so that's what the point of this video is. We have a little surprise at the end, some stuff that's coming back. I don't want to spoil anything, but we're going to hit how to grade something, sort of what the top 3 to 4 to 5 graders are, and then we'll have a little surprise unveiling at the end. So Cam, what do I do? I want to grade something. I said I would grade something. How do I get that done?
Yep. Thanks for having me on, Matt. Again, it's always great to be on your show. I love everything you're doing. So grading, this question pops up once a week, I would say, and I've been through the process of literally not having any clue what to do. So I've been through the learning curve. I by no means think I'm the best grader out there. I got to give that title to JP still. I mean, the guy's got more graded cards than anyone.
And like Mark, I want to have Mark. He's not trying to cut out Darth Grader, who's a legend. He just couldn't make it tonight. He's moving. So
yeah, Mark's moving. Mark and I went through the learning curve together. You'll see he's got a couple of 8s and 7s, and I remember he got a Cloud City 4 back in the day. It was his first grade. So we went through the learning curve together. We learned together. That's why, it's good to have someone to talk to, or the Star Wars CCG graded group. Always a good spot. If you're not sure, post an image of the card. Images don't usually do it justice. Get the corners, get in there close, make sure the picture's good so we can actually help you. But you'll get some really good feedback there. That's a great starting point. But what I can do is I can give you a simple I'm a big fan of rules and just generalization. So I can give you a quick teach a man to fish starter.
yeah, sure.
So people watching this might be like, you forgot this or forgot this. I'm giving you a quick hitter basics that you go through this. You should 80% of the time or more be about there. There's more to learn. 4 things they look for. Beckett will even list them on the card. You've got centering.
Okay.
How well a card, the image or whatever the card may be, sports or whatever, is centered. You've got surface. That is anywhere from there's food on the card surface to it's been dragged across a Magic the Gathering table flip or whatever it may be. There's a little bit of subjectivity there. That's the fun part for me. Edges and corners. So edges are notoriously difficult on Star Wars CCG because they have the black borders, so it stands out a little more. And you'll also see some of that corner crimping. Now, before you go, I think one of the things I learned early on, I got so excited. I had a Luke Skywalker fresh out of a starter pack, the premiere. I'm like, this thing is mint. I sent it in. I did the expedited $100. I was so confident it was a 10. This was my beginner's mistake back in 2017, and it came back an 8, and I was so confused, didn't understand why. Flipped the card over. Oh, the centering on the back is horrendous. And then that was my wake-up call. The back matters too. So I think that's one thing to look out for. It's the front of the card, it's the back of the card, and it's every angle. Beyond that, yes, there's art. Yes, some people use jeweler tools. You'll see at a jewelry store.
I thought you were about to pull one of those out. I hope that's what you just were about to pull out, and you're going to have it in your eye. But maybe
I've got some tools that I recommend.
Tools of the trade.
Yeah, I think it's not as you can get by, especially if you're you're okay with the risk of the range of outcomes. If you know what you're getting into and you're not going to be that upset, you can get by very cheaply here. So a couple tools I'd recommend. Well, since you mentioned it, you can get this on Amazon. I don't forget the name. I'm sorry. So I brought a competing product, but if you search, this one's a pocket microscope. I like this one because it has, make sure it has the light on it. And then if there's a mark, what I use this for, I don't bust it out and scan every inch of the card. I can usually find a good light like I have on my desk here, hold the card under it, and that's kind of my starting point. That's why I like working here.
That's kind of how you start to think about, should I send this in, right? Before we get into how to send it, that's the decision point, right? Just because it's an AI or an ultra rare doesn't mean you should grade it, right? You should go through these steps, make sure that you're not going to come back with a 6, which might be worse a raw card, maybe, right? That's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do a super. Again, these are rules of thumbs, generalizations. Do not hold me to it in the comments. I'll throw Rafi under the bus here because Rafi gave me a rough curve when I was starting. But a PSA 10 is usually 10x a raw. A 9 is, I believe, 3x a raw. And then 8.7 in Star Wars CCG, you'll see it depending on the card, maybe like a 7.6 somewhere in there is a raw. So yeah, if you go below 6 or 5, you can keep it so it's protected in there, but from a value standpoint, no difference if you crack it or not. So we'll say like a 6 or 7's a raw, and then you can add exponentially multiplying premiums to the grade from there. So that's it, good way to look at it. And then there's Star Wars is a trade. Unlike sports cards, these cards are played with. So there's like played condition that you're looking for is different than pack fresh. So I think it's good to get a feeling of what pack fresh cards look like too.
Yep. And I mean, the ones that I did for that reflections, I wish I had them next to me, but like they pack fresh, but still a little crimped edge, right? It's just this stuff happens, right? Especially when you're 22-year-old packs, they just get bent and tossed around the warehouse. So it happens. Okay. So
that's a perfect rule number 2. Sorry to cut you off. That a lot of people don't realize right away is that pack fresh does not equal 10. Especially the older the cards go, they can come out damaged. And you can see a whole wide range of outcomes there. So don't assume it's a 10 if it's pack fresh.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make. Okay. So we talked about the 4 factors kind of considering when you're looking at a card. Sort of what are the leading companies? I know PSA and Beckett. So PSA and Beckett are maybe like 1 and 2 in this industry. And, I'm thinking about sending into PSA, but what are some of the other companies out there? So, PSA, Beckett both also do autograph authentication as well as grading and sort of been around for a long time. I don't know if you have any, favorite between the two, but I know there's also some new ones coming out. So maybe you can just kind of speak to that a little bit.
Sure. I try to remain as objective as possible here. I hope that comes across. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's an ever-changing industry. So I don't think it's intelligent necessarily to like have a favorite because then your biases come into play. You get attached and things change. And we've seen them change. When I came in, BGS was number 1. I had JP's talked about it back when you could just email a representative, like that actually existed. And I think his name was Alan, and Alan at BGS would send you the paperwork to fill it out, send in the cards, you get them back. BGS stands for Beckett grading. And Beckett, everyone knows.
It took me a minute to figure that out. Actually, like way back when I first was like, wait, BGS versus Beckett's, which one's better? And I was like, oh, it's the same place. It was like one of those moments like 2019 when I was looking into this. I was like, oh.
And I mean, that's a whole side conversation on credibility, and credibility is at the forefront of grading right now. A lot of people like that. A lot of people don't like it. Won't get into that on the show. Just going to kind of cover your options. So Beckett, everyone knows Beckett. They were the leader for a while, and PSA has been around forever, and they were up there also. Then I'll skip mini stories, but somewhere in the last 5 years, PSA, not only are they publicly traded, they were publicly traded. They really made a run there, especially during the boom around quarantine. Stock price, I even bought stock, full disclaimer, at the time, and they had a big run up, and they were bought by a private owner, and he's really just put the pedal to the metal. So they're now have multiple locations opening across the world. Meanwhile, Beckett during this time was kind of not able to. PSA had to shut down for a number of time. Without getting too granular, PSA passed Beckett by all metrics during the COVID time period, and now they're coming out with a vengeance because this month in July you can get an $18 a card discount, which is pretty much the cheapest out of all the competing companies. So they're making a statement. They're trying to hurt the cheaper options, which are, and I'll move those real quick. Big 4, I would say, after that are SGC, which I'm a huge fan of because of their customer service, their consistency in turnaround times, and then HGA and CSG, which are kind of tier 3. I won't list any others. Sorry if I forgot any.
No, it's. I mean, 5 grading companies is already like probably 4 more than I knew existed like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, right? And so it's interesting to hear how much this market's grown. And so SGC, HGA, like, are these are they kind of like COVID inventions, right? Or they kind of maybe get to start a little bit before COVID, or because it seems like Beckett and PSA are sort of, I don't want to say the gold standard, but they've been around for 20 years. I mean, Beckett feels like it's kind of been like around since like Scry magazine, right? Yeah. Like, an OG sort of TCG magic kind of company. But what about some of the competitors?
Yeah. I would, JP is probably more qualified to speak to those. He had his own grading company back in the day himself. I believe CSG was around. HGA is on the newer end. They've had some controversy. CEO has been let go, but there's a new management team in place. HGA does more custom slabs. I don't know when SGC started off the top of my head, but they've really ramped up during the COVID time phase and invested more capital and marketing into it. So I think that would be a better question for JP on the specific start date. Sure. To answer your question, they definitely a lot of these companies are much better known now because of the capital invested during the COVID spike or boom or whatever you want to call it.
So what when we're looking at price point, right? Someone that knows nothing about grading and they're about to go look. So PSA has a special for July, $18. It's probably the lowest you've seen grading in like 100 years, right? Or at least, before the pandemic. But we looking roughly $30 to $40 plus shipping to grade a card. Is that kind of where we might think about? And then like a 4-month, 5-month turnaround? Is that kind of where we're at right now in July 2022?
We're at now, and again, it's hard to have any steadfast like rules because it is always changing, and that's why I just try to keep an open mind. When I submitted a ton of cards to SGC, it was the cheapest, it was the quickest turnaround. It was while PSA was shut down, so for that year or so, there weren't really any other options, and I didn't think highly of SGC at the time, but they during that time wooed over their customers with by A, just having a service, and B, delivering, and they provided cheap price points. So right now, just a quick overview. I'm looking at a tab from Sports Card Investor. My friend Jeff.
Sure, if you want to screen share it, I don't know. I can put you on the one that has the chart. If you want, I can just put that up.
Yep. Let's see here. Sharing. Oh, yes, tab. That's right.
Yeah, we do it that way. But while we kind of get this set up on the technical side, one thing I'll say is I think customer service, when you're talking about like high-end stuff, there's much more of an interest. So looking here's kind of a chart. This is a really good tool, and so you kind of see the price points, kind of the big companies. This is a really good kind of comparison here. So maybe I'll leave this up just for a minute while we chat more. But you mentioned customer service. I think that's such an important component of this because you do have a high-end customer base and there's certain expectations, right? Like if you're talking about people that are sending in, $1,000 plus worth of cards, they want to be treated like respectfully, not like an animal. Like, like some of these companies during like the year, you heard horror stories of cards getting lost or you can't get a hold of anyone at PSA or whatever company. And it's just nice to hear that there are some that are kind of focusing on the sort of customer service aspect.
Yeah. And if you're looking for customer service, you'll see that what's listed here is first off economy. This is technically a marketing post, but this says it includes expert pre-screening and shipping. And why I mentioned that is that there's grading services that you can use. So it might be a good idea your first time. I personally, I use Nash cards. I used to live in Nashville, but people all around the country use them. They've blown up. You can go to nashcards.com. They helped me figure out you can use the screening early on and say, I had a goldenrod C3PO. They're like, you should go to PSA and pay more. Don't do this through SGC because this is a premium card. It came back a PSA 9, which is amazing. So they've, that customer service level really helped in getting the right cards to the right service. So that might be something to think about on your first times. I would recommend sportscardinvestor.com/grading shown here or nashcards.com, NASCHARDS.com if you kind of want your hand held through all the options. But right now it's PSA, it's SGC, it's Beckett. If you care about the value of the card, the more premium it gets, it's PSA or Beckett. And, within each of those, you can pay more money to get quicker turnaround time and maybe better customer service.
Okay. I think I'm gonna do. I said I'd do 2 cards, and I think I'll probably do a bit more than that. But I leaning towards PSA just because it's familiar, right? But nothing against the other services. For me, it just feels like something I already kind of know, or I have a couple PSA slabs. I was talking with Andy Kalaga the other night. He just doesn't like the way PSA slabs look. He likes the way Beckett looks, and now that he said that, I can't get that thought out of my brain. Right? I'm like, mate, do the Beckett ones look better? I don't know. He actually also complimented the SGC, some of the alternative ones. So I think it's just an interesting space. It's a growing space, especially for this market. So Cam, thanks so much for kind of the crash course there. I think it's time for our surprise. Should we do the surprise?
Yes, and shout out again. I keep mentioning his name, JP Peltier, who's the head of the Star Wars CCG Graded. I thought I was done grading for a while until this $18 price point, but this is before that. And JP mentioned to the group to let's see how good of a grader you are. Let's see, do a pre-inspection, write down what grade you think the card will get, and we'll write what it comes back. I'm normally going for a 9 or 10. I have to, in general, I want to see that for the time, the effort, the expense to get that exponential payback. And I want to get every main Star Wars character to 10. That's just my PC collector goal. This was my second pass. So these cards, I had lower expectations for. And so I kind of opened it up a little, as we'll see. I need to share to the group.
I can put it back in the tab there. Yep.
So you'll see in column C, I have the actual grades hidden. This is what I wrote down and sent to JP a few months ago that I thought each card would get. And I guess we'll go down the line and then we'll unveil the actuals. Is my screen up for showing the cards, or should I?
Sure. Why don't I put you up here?
Sure.
And we can go back and forth. All right. So you got cards back from PSA today.
So just got them back. Can't wait. You can't wait 2 days to open the box. You got to do it right away. Thank you.
I know mail day is like the closest we get to Christmas as adults, right? Like
I was in the shower getting out naked, and I heard the doorbell, knowing that a signature was needed, and I yelled like a child at my wife to get the door. I'm like, "Baby, please go get this. I can't miss the signature because then I'll have to wait another day."
Yeah, or you have to go find it at the UPS store or something, right?
Exactly. Okay. Any true collector's been there where they get the signature sticker and they're just bummed for 3 days.
All right. So we got R2 coming up. It looks like you think it's a 7 to 9, and we have a 8. Okay. So you were kind of on the mark there.
Yep. That one had noticeable. I put notes where it was warranted in the Google Doc. This one, the centering alone was, you knew it wasn't going to be a 10. There were also issues on the back edges, but I love R2 foil, so I was willing to kind of pay the economy rate to go for an 8 or 9 on it. I don't have this card in a 9 yet, also, I believe, so I think that factored in. Okay. The next one was one of the more unique examples, and I noticed a spot on the Lando. I'll see if I can show it here. It's that dot right there.
Mm-hmm.
From far away, it kind of looks like it blends in with the background. I almost didn't catch it. I had the microscope out for this one, and I pulled out another Lando, which is a tactic to use if you're not sure on a card. You pull up a 10 or a 9 or an 8 and compare them. And that's definitely a big surface issue. But the rest of the card was immaculate. So I don't know if PSA missed it because this one got a 9, or if they saw what I saw.
I'm also wondering how much experience do PSA have? That particular grader, has he ever seen a Lando before? Right? That's just something to be said. They staffed up a whole bunch of the pandemic. Has that guy even seen a Star Wars card before? Right? So
it's a fair question. You could also just argue it's immaculate other than one surface issue. Therefore, we're going to drop it to a 9. I could see both of those being the reality.
Okay. So that's good though, man. You were an 8 and then a 9. All right, so we got a Ben Kenobi foil up next. It looks like you think this is going to be a 9.
This one, yep, I thought it was going to be a 9.
And an 8. That's a bummer about PSA. They don't have the subgrades, whether it's, half grades or 8.8 or so it's really an all or nothing. It reminds me of like a teacher in college that had like a really harsh grading scale where it's like an 89 is that's just a B. There's no B plus. There's no A minus. You have a B or an A.
That's a good example. Yeah, the teacher grading scale matters.
Yeah, it's like you got an 89.9. I round down, right? All right, we got the Ben Kenobi. No,
technically you can get 8.5s. I've had a LSJK Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight 8.5, and it's just super rare. No one really knows why they operate exactly that way.
All right, we got an R2. You thought it was gonna be a 9, and we got a 9. Okay, that's pretty good then. That's a fun R2. I like that R2, and the reflections foils. There's a lot out there. So next up, we got the Princess Leia. So this is gonna be Slave Leia, which has a particularly weird spot in collector's hearts.
Princess Leia? No, this is the Cloud City version.
Oh, this is the Cloud City. I'm sorry, the wrong one in my head.
Yeah, my more premium cards were picked over by this point.
Okay.
These were either foils from my collection or recent pack pulls.
Okay, an 8.
8. So I'm disappointed in that because I did spend a lot of time, but as we'll see, it kind of turns up from here. And next up, we have a Pack Fresh. I think I noted Prince Shizor from Reflections too, and it got a 9, which I did. That is just a good example of Pack Fresh, especially in Premiere. Premiere might mean like 7 or 8. You got to really analyze it, but Pack Fresh doesn't mean 10. And another example, and this is probably the highlight of the return.
Ooh, do we get it? Do we get it?
We got what we expected.
Okay, 9. Is that that's not the foil?
It's not the foil. No, that's Pack Fresh. So those Pack Fresh came out 9, which you can expect. Now these I thought they had an outside chance of a 10, but I thought they were 9. So we'll call it like 10% 8, 80% 9, 10% 10 was kind of the thought process. So Kenobi Foil.
The 9, right? Yeah. So I'm just like squinting there. Yeah.
I wish I had a better way to show this, but this one's the Princess Organa version foil.
I'm gonna just highlight yours. Oh, she got a 9. So you got a lot of 9s, man. This is not a bad run, right?
What's the strategy here? This is like us hitting a bunch of singles to grind out a baseball win.
As we look at this, do you know, like, is this sort of like, does grading happen on a curve at all, right? Like, do they try to give 50% 8s, 20% 9s, 10% 10? Like, is that done in a way where systematically things are supposed to kind of be on like some sort of curve, or is it just truly based on the cards, right?
Good answer to that question is to look at the data. So you can find population reports by site. HGA is notoriously the hardest to get a 10 on than BGS. I don't have the data handy, but it's like crazy low chances to get a 10 for HGA. BGS is low. So you can see the percentages and how exponential they are. And then you'll hear every type of argument that they do it intentionally. You can argue it's just organic, like people don't take old 1996 cards out and preserve them that well, so it should be that kind of curve. You'll hear all types of conspiracy theories in between too. My favorite is to slip in the $100 bill when you submit your package.
Well, I mean, if it works, it works. All right, what do we got next? We got another Princess Leia from Cloud City.
Pack Fresh. I loved. I went through a phase of ripping Cloud City because of the Boba Fett's and the Captain Hans. So a lot of those Captain Hans or Bobas already went in, and you're seeing some of the Princess Leias I didn't send until the second round.
How much Cloud City did you open up? Like, do you just like open 40 boxes of Cloud City, or just get some really good pulls?
I did like 3 boxes. It's good. There's a lot of main characters. You got both the Landos. You got Leia, and then Captain Han and Boba are 2 of the fan favorite art cards. So if you're like grading, for me, grading's all about art. It's look above me, like you want something you can display. So you get the Boba or the Captain Han in a 10, you're making a ton of money on those Cloud City boxes. If you get a 9 and both of those, you're about break even. So it's a fun.
Yeah, I think Cloud City is a chronically undervalued set, right? For the size of it, right? It's not like 90 cards, and you can find it for $60. So it feels like, for a full set, that is, right? It feels like kind of undervalued for what it is. Okay, what do we got next? We got America.
Yeah, so then you'll see my other pack fun was Reflections too. I just had a few I decided to rip, and Of the 4, I got an Erica, a Dash Rendar, a Prince Shizor, and 3 of the 4. So it was a good 4 packs I opened. You can't be.
So, Erica, I like that card. I think it's interesting. I mean, you got built-in potential Disney IP with Mara Jade. So I think it's a fun one. Okay, we got, 2 left. We got a Dash Rendar.
And then I got a couple bonuses at the end. But yeah, the other Reflections 2 that I expected. And fine. Dash Rendar, shout out Nintendo 64, Shadows of the Empire.
Love that game, man. Love that game. I think that's one of those Nintendo 64 games that's now worth like $300, right? Like, I think if you have to find it on eBay.
So many good memories, right? So another grading thing, you're going to see like the played cards, the singles you buy on sorry, I should have thrown this note up front, but like you got the ones you buy on eBay. Just be skeptical, even if you're an optimistic person. They're probably picked over. If you're buying a single, it's probably not going to grade. You got better chances in Star Wars CCG than other sets. You got packed fresh. That's a very good chance to grade a 9 or a 10. So that's why I like ripping packs sometimes. It's very hard to find singles from 1996 in the raw that are going to grade a 9 or a 10. You can do it, and I've done it, but it's a lot harder. Most people, especially if picking up Steam, especially in Star Wars CCG, are looking. This one's in between. This one was what a lot of us have, which is straight to pack to binder, and then sat in the binder for a decade. So this one was packed fresh, but in a binder for a while, and it's a Japanese card. So I wanted to throw that in as a fun one, different print quality. I expected a 9 or a 10. It was pretty fresh. I think they got it to a 9 because you can kind of see the centering. But yeah, good fun one to end on. And then shout out, little bonus I threw in there. I know some of the Terwilliger brothers played some Star Wars Destiny and some other big Star Wars CCG names. I'm a big Star Wars Destiny fan. It's a fun game. Not nearly level Star Wars CCG, but the Spot Gloss promo cards, I threw a couple in.
Cool, man.
They're clear cards, and I haven't seen them graded yet, and I just wanted to see, they're great collectibles. Got a 9 Luke and an 8 Qui-Gon, but they just look
that's just like my favorite, like the same Qui-Gon with lightsaber image, right? Like the Qui-Gon holding it up. So that's cool, man.
So that's that return.
Well, this has been a really great crash course in grading. And I think I just need to get off my butt and like navigate over to PSA and like do this. I've just been like making excuses, but I think I have all the information I need. And, I hope folks watching are also, figuring this out. And if you have questions, feel free to put in the comments. We'll try to get to it. Grading can be kind of daunting, but it doesn't have to be, right? There's lots of guides, lots of resources out there, and there's also a growing community. So if you're on Facebook, there's an entire Star Wars CCG graded group. There's a ton of resources, a ton of folks that love talking about this stuff, including Cam. And I always describe myself as just grading curious, right? I'm like, want to get a little bit of it, but not full exposure. Any kind of final thoughts here, Cam?
If you got to do the $18. This July thing's unprecedented. It's going to be a 3 to 6 month wait, or probably more like 6 months, but it's a good deal. You got to do 20 cards, and at $18, you can afford to hit an 8. You can afford to do some less high-end cards that are just more for your personal collection that you enjoy. And that's, at the end of the day, that's why I love SGC normally, and I love this PSA price point and the economy price points, is you can grade cards you want for your collection. So especially if you're not sure, make sure you're grading a card you like when you start out, that you want to keep while you get a feel for the process. Check out Nash Cards or Sports Card Investor if you want to use a service to help you along the way. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Matt will put the link in the comment section below for the Star Wars CCG graded group. And I'll share my results on that submission. I think everything was in the range I projected and set for 2 cards. So we're going to call that a win.
That's pretty good. I'm curious to share my results when I actually get around to sending it in, and when it comes in like 150 business days. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and feel free to leave comments. We'll try to get to it. But if you like graded stuff, stay tuned. We'll do a little bit more of it and down the road. So we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, Matt. May the force be with you.
Same to you.